Okay, guys, you thought that we were gone, but we are back. It is 2019, first episode of the new year, and this is the Crypto Dog Pound Presents Unleashed episode. Shit, I like count. We just gonna say that it's episode
Episode
1 of
14.
2019. We start a new
Yeah.
chapter. 14. There we go. My man Blues always got my back. I am Blockchain Dame, and I'm here with the usual suspects. We got one. We got Clay. He's out on vacation on a bros trip, but I got my man Blues, and I got my man Wolf. We hear Bitcoin is what chilling around 36 right now, but for our first episode back. We got the man Crypto UB in the house. What's going down, my brother?
Hey,
Hey man, yeah, hey, that's
how's it
sometimes
going,
that's the
guys?
best intro. Just a simple hey, bro. Just
That's
a simple
good. Yeah, I
strong
like
hey,
that.
man. I'm feeling
Yeah.
that. All right, so first of all, I hope everybody has had a great new year. We got plenty of great guests this year, and like I said, Crypto UB, he's kicking it off. So let's get back into it. You guys know how we rock on here. We usually get a little bit of background on your favorite crypto traders background, whatever you want to call it, and then we get into some topics, and then we get into what I think everybody likes, and that's the charts. So Crypto UB, man, I've been looking around. I see you got the juice on Twitter, just like everybody we bring in here, man. You got the juice, you got it popping. I saw that you got your YouTube, you got Discord group, but let's take it back a little bit. And it's a basic question that we ask everybody, but it's interesting to get everybody's story because everybody always has a different story. So how did you get into crypto, man? And how long have you been doing it?
So this is kind of interesting. I used to play a lot of games online, so like WoW and a game called RuneScape, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. So in
Okay.
RuneScape primarily, I was trying to make like the virtual currency in that game. So oddly enough, I was like trading the stuff on there and trying to make money in the game. And then I was introduced to crypto because a few people in that game would sell that currency for Bitcoin and then eventually cash that out for fiat.
Oh, see,
So
that's an interesting. I haven't heard anybody that has gotten into it that way. That's a whole new way. So you was kind of,
Yeah.
you
yeah,
were kind of, you were kind of in this lifestyle and not even knowing it, and then you officially
yeah,
got introduced to the Bitcoin shit. Now, did you hear
exactly.
about Bit? Did you have? Yeah, you heard about it before that, or was that the first time you were introduced to it?
Of course I heard about it, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I wasn't that
Yeah.
interested in it. But eventually, when
Mhm.
I researched it a bit, watched a few YouTube videos, then I got more interested in what could possibly happen with blockchain and things like that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So I see that since you've gotten into it, obviously, you seem to be the man on Twitter now. Did all of these skills, and I know you got the skills. I see it on there, bro. You don't got 13K for nothing. But
Uh,
did these skills come from specifically right when you got into it, and you just kind of taught yourself these things, or were you trading on traditional markets before, or where did you get the skills, man?
so I was dabbling in stocks a little bit, but nothing at the level I'm at right now with crypto. It was more of just like
Mhm.
a little side thing. But eventually, with crypto, wait, what was the question? Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought.
No, I was saying, where did you get the skills from with your
Oh,
charts
the
and all of that
skills.
stuff? Like, because I
Right.
think,
So
yeah.
this
Mhm.
skills honestly is just from just staring at charts and trying to understand
There we
what's
go.
actually happening. And
Hmm.
I tried to keep it as simple as possible. So I started with understanding, how candlestick patterns worked, how to actually trade with candlesticks. And then eventually, of course, I used volume in that time as well. But then I moved on to price action, which I guess falls into candlesticks. But then I focus more on price action and tried to figure out what taking liquidity meant and stuff like that. And I was introduced to those topics from people like ICT. I know a lot of people don't really
Okay.
like him, but
Yeah, that's a popular
in
name.
terms
That's
of
a popular name in the
yeah,
space.
in terms of price
Yeah.
action, he definitely brought my attention to the whole topic.
Yeah.
Hmm.
ICT
So
always comes back into discussions when we talk
Yeah.
about price action. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, and yeah, whether good or bad, his name is always being brought up, and I think that's always a good thing. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
but so on, but on the shit, I forgot what I was about to ask you, man. See, that's what the
It's
tequila
okay.
does in 2019. Anyway, so look, so I've been on your YouTube. I've been creeping on you since we've announced that you were going to be a guest on this show. And I did my research and I saw
Uh-huh.
that you have a YouTube that's pretty popping. You almost as popping
Mhm.
as us, man, on the YouTube. Now you got a little bit more
I
subscribers
know.
than us, but we working. But look, and then I saw you have a Discord. So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about your Discord first, and what is it that you aim to provide in your Discord?
So my Discord is interesting because, and my Twitter really as a whole, and my come up, I guess you could say, as oddly as that word is, I guess. But my Discord just started off because I wanted to make friends that were traders as well. And I
Mhm.
didn't really know who to follow on Twitter. I just followed those people who are the typical posting hopium stuff every other day and just basically marketing themselves. So I kind of wanted to create a space that people could, um, join, make friends, talk about trading, talk about, I don't know, price action, and just basically learning how to trade and just build a community around that because I felt like at that time it was really lacking. Of course, now that I'm in this space for longer, I can see there's plenty of communities like that. But at the time, I just felt like a Discord would be great for that because I didn't have any friends that traded personally. So I guess I just wanted to make friends who traded as well.
So you just made an environment to make your own friends, and I guess that's good because it's an
Yeah, I guess so.
environment constructed by you. So I mean, I guess you're attracting the people that you want to deal with. So that's a good thing.
I guess
And,
so.
and on let's go back to your YouTube now. So there's something interesting besides the you do morning scans, which is what I'm guessing that you kick off the day with some trades that you're looking at, all of that stuff. But
Yeah.
I saw that you had previously did some challenges and you have an ongoing challenge right now that you just started this year. So what is up
Mhm.
with you and these challenges, man? What's going on with this?
I just really like challenges because I feel like a lot of people get the wrong impression by popular accounts on Twitter. I don't mean, I don't want to like start bashing on accounts, but some people, are around there just posting these charts that are basically just marketing themselves and promoting something else that's not actually trading, if you know what I mean. And I feel like people with large
Mm.
followings aren't seen as like, it may be
Yeah,
weird to
exactly.
say, but seen as real people. It's the same as celebrities, right? So people like huge celebrities, you don't actually picture them as real people. So my idea for the challenges was to show that, I'm a normal person. I take losses as well. Sometimes the drawdowns are substantial, sometimes, I crush it. But I think challenges are a way to show people that, taking losses is fine. And it's really not that big of a deal as long as you're managing certain aspects of your trading.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's part of trading. The
Yeah,
losses,
yeah. It's one of my
as long
guys
as
that
you're managing
um
your positions.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree because yeah, to be honest, yeah, there are a lot of
yeah, I
traders.
was he posted a trade earlier that
Yeah,
he a good amount on this one. And I was like, hey man, you sometimes everybody goes through it. Matter of fact, if anybody is posting 100% wins, then they're lying, bro.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
obviously not, it's falsified, and we got to get better
Yeah.
at that. We got to get better at showing our mistakes, not just to show that you're not invincible, but to
Yeah,
show that,
exactly.
hey, look, this is what happened, and for people to learn. So
Yeah. So with my new challenge, which I'm
and
sure we'll talk about, but the one that I started in 2019, my first week, I think it was an 8 or 9% drawdown. And a lot of people were giving me crap about that, which is totally fine. It's understandable. But this week's update will show that like drawdowns really don't matter as long as you're managing your risk and stuff like that. So I'm excited to show people that aspect of trading.
what was the one that you did that you did last year? The 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 grow challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I forget when I did it. I think it was October or November. I think October I completed it, but regardless, I did a zero point 0.1 to 1 Bitcoin challenge, and this is kind of what really made my Twitter blow up, because I completed that challenge in 49 days. And I'll talk a little bit about that because I think it's an interesting story that,
Lace us up on
whenever you're
that one.
doing, yeah, so whenever you're doing a challenge, of course, if you have some sort of following like I do now, there's a lot more pressure. But even back then, I had maybe 2 or 3,000 followers, and I was really doing it, I guess, for myself, just to see if I can really trade up with that amount because I've been using, larger amounts, and a lot of people complain that they don't have enough money to start trading, and to trade and get decent returns, you need a ton of money, which I showed is not true. But I did the challenge that quickly, but my background, I guess you could call it that, which is kind of awkward to say. My background with playing games like WoW that I was saying, I played it competitively, and like RS, I went for records. And if you don't know the game, it's going to sound ridiculous, but basically that game was just doing the same thing over and over again and grinding. So for this challenge, I really grinded for 49 days to get the best results I could, but also keep my risk in check. And it was just a bad experience, to be honest, because I was so
Yeah, be
focused.
specific. What's some of the things that happened? What was some of the best things, the worst things? What did you learn on that one?
So I wasn't over leveraging. I stuck to about 5x leverage. And what was pretty funny was my best trade was, do you guys remember when Ripple pumped like 100 and something percent that one weekend or something?
Yeah, that 1 week it was. Yeah, I exactly
Yeah.
remember that one. Yeah.
So it turned out that I caught nearly the bottom on my challenge account, and I longed not even that many contracts, maybe like 5K contracts, and I ended up getting auto deleveraged at nearly the top, and that was like plus 30% of my account, which was insane.
Oh wow.
So that really boosted the account.
Wow.
But as far as the struggles that happen, like, because I was so focused, and I don't know why, I'm just the type of person that when I'm focused on something, I drop everything and really try and crush whatever I'm doing. So that kind of came at a little bit of a price because I like ate one meal a day, maybe two. Like I had alerts set. I was sleeping maybe 5 hours a night, maybe.
Bro, you don't need
And
food and sleep whenever you're doing Bitcoin challenges, bro. You
yeah,
ain't got time for that
exactly.
shit.
Exactly. So I was so focused on that. And my goal wasn't to complete it in an insane time or anything like that, but I just wanted, I don't know, I just became obsessed with trying to just crush it. And when I started my new challenge that started, I guess, 2 weeks ago almost now, I kind of got off to that same start. Like went balls to the wall basically, and ended up with it pretty like a drawdown, of course, but nothing that's irreversible. But I kind of had that same attitude, and then I had to take a step back and really reevaluate what I wanted to get from this newer challenge. But yeah, the 0.1 to 1
Yeah, so
was crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, what made you not like the first challenge? I mean, was it the lifestyle? I mean, the fact
Yeah,
that
I think it was more of the lifestyle, just because I really did not like how much time I spent on just staring at charts, because that's really not what you need to do. And for whatever reason, I just became completely obsessed with trying to just complete the challenge, I guess. And that came at a price. But of course, completing it was nice. I got some sort of recognition on Twitter, which was cool. But I mean, looking back on it, it's really awesome that I was able to do that. But the way I did it was just not healthy. I guess that's really the only negative thing I see is just the way I did it wasn't very healthy.
yeah, man. I was there's always stories that I was watching the Quincy Jones documentary the other day, and I don't know if these people know who Quincy Jones is, maybe but anyway, he produced a lot of Michael Jackson's biggest hits, Frank Sinatra, all of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But he mentioned that he's a man of super great success. But he mentioned that in the midst of his of doing all of these super great things that took up all of his time, he didn't think he was the best father or the best like husband that he could have been. But the reason why I'm even mentioning this is because sometimes whenever you're going to achieve great things, like going from point 1 to 1, whether nobody or point, what was it, 0.01 to 1, that's what you said?
No, just 0.1.
0.1 to
0.1 to 1.
It was a 10x,
no, just
right?
Yeah, it was 10x in 49 days. Yeah. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, I guess, the highlight of the challenge. Sorry to cut you off, but I did it when Bitcoin was in like that 7% range, if you guys remember that.
Yeah, that choppy.
So that's even another thing. So yeah, like sometimes whenever you're trying to do great shit like that, man, you have to sacrifice other things, and thankfully it worked out for you and all of that stuff. But yeah, that's just part of the game, and you just gotta weigh out some shit. But I'm glad that you got that done, and it paid off clearly as well. Now I wanted to ask you one more thing. So where did you do most of your trading for this challenge? I'm assuming BitMEX, right?
Yeah, I did it completely on BitMEX, 100% on BitMEX.
Could you explain?
And what was your average leverage? I'm sorry, Blues.
Yeah,
that's my last question.
That's my bad.
My average leverage was 5x and below, which is the same leverage I'm using for this current challenge I'm doing.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to know what strategy were you using? Like, what time frame were you trading, or did you have any specific plan?
That's a good question. So I didn't stick to like only swing trading or day trading. Yeah. What was really successful for me was letting my winners run, but in a big way, primarily for the Ripple long and of course other longs, but this was my most profitable, I believe. So what I did there was, I took my initial position out. Okay. I had my take profit set at whatever, I don't even remember at this point. And as the day progressed, I saw more opportunity for that position. So what I ended up doing was realizing maybe 20% of the initial position size. And then I just let the rest of it run. And then I would move my stop loss up every few hours just to secure that profit. And eventually, I guess lucky for me, I got auto deleverage. But that's the same method I used throughout the challenge. So I just I took some profit at whatever take profit points. And then I would at least let 10 to 20% of my original position size run, and whatever happened, happened.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. So you're using some sort of trailing stop loss, but manually.
Manually, yes. Because I was always in front of the charts, and I guess I still am now. But so I always strategically place my stop every couple hours or every few days when eventually a swing trade is doing well. But most of my trades, even now, and this is a method I use on my main account as well, is I still do that. So, if a position is supposed to be a day trade and eventually I see more opportunity for that day trade, I'll realize maybe 30% of the original position size and then let the rest of it run, like the rest of the 70% run, and then move my stop down. And then eventually realize some profit when, let's say if I'm in a short and it tanks like 15% in a day, then that's when I'm realizing another 20% and then moving my stop loss down again after that.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to trade.
So yeah, exactly. And just because of that, now do you find the same strategy that you were using in the challenge? Do you find yourself still kind of following those strategies, or do you take a completely different approach whenever you're just trading on the norm?
So for this challenge now, I'm doing it as I normally would trade on my main account. So what I'm doing now is realizing profit at I typically have 2 to 3 take profit points, and at those 2 to 3 take profit points, I'm taking a combined 70 to 80%. Actually, that's not true. 80 to 90% of my profit off the table. And then I'm letting 10 to 20% of the original position size run after that. and basically whatever happens, happens. If I feel like there's some sort of overextension, I guess you could say, that's when I'm realizing the full position, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah.
It's kind of
That's what's up.
not what most people do, but it works for me, I guess.
And that's the main idea of the story, man. Do what works for you, right? Everybody always likes to argue about what they think is the best way, but hey, if it's working for you, then hey, you don't have to follow shit. So
Yeah.
the another thing that I was gonna talk about. So for this one on this 2019 challenge, is it just that, right? Is it the whole year, right?
Yeah, so basically what I'm doing with this challenge is I'm starting with 1 Bitcoin. I already started with 1 Bitcoin on January 1st. And the goal of the challenge, well, basically what I'll be doing is when I hit 11 Bitcoin, I'm going to move 9 to storage just for security reasons. There's really no reason to have that amount of Bitcoin on an exchange, first of all. And second of all, I guess have a large following. So I don't want people to, I don't want there to be more of a target on my back because of that. So what I'll be doing is moving 9 off of the account, restarting with 2. When I hit 11 again, I'll be restarting with 3. If I hit 11 again, restart with 4. So the duration of this challenge will be for the entire year, and whatever happens, happens. If I blow it, which I don't think I will, but if it happens, of course, I'll say, you know, I blew it. And if I have a drawdown like I did last week, I'll show all of my trades publicly, which I plan on doing. Every week, I'll give some sort of recap for the challenge, see what happened, see what I could have done better. And yeah, that's the goal. Just the goal is just to be transparent and show people that, you know, it's okay to lose, but just have your risk management in check, basically.
That's what the fuck is up, man. Now I know, even though you might not have publicly said it, I know that you have a number in your head, man. What's that number that you want to be at by the end of the year?
Do I drop it now? I don't know. No.
All right. Give a
no, I
range.
will.
Give a range.
So
I mean, do you have a monthly target, like a percentage or something like that?
see, the problem with that is I didn't want to give myself a target just so I didn't repeat that same obsession I did with the first challenge. And I guess the target is at least 30 by the end of the year. At least.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
I think that's a decent target.
Of course.
Yeah. 12 months, 30. Yeah, why not, bro? Why not? A little bit under 3 each month. I'm all for it, man. I'll be monitoring that shit, and I might even join in with you. But I'm gonna aim on a little lower lane because I fuck up a lot, bro. But you might help me with that. So I'll be watching. Now I heard you talk a lot about you have a plan of once you get to X amount, you'll move it off into storage and all that stuff, and that's important because, as people may have known in these last couple of weeks, we've had we've seen stories about a lot of hacks and all this other bullshit going on, which I hate for a reason, especially when it gets publicized as much as it gets publicized, because it kind of creates a whole dark cloud over the crypto space for a while, and it shies away investors even more, especially ones that were thinking about getting in. When they hear of shit like this, it hurts even more. And we all are looking for mass adoption. We all are looking for more people to get in the game. But where I'm going with this is, we all know that ETC, Ethereum Classic. It seems like this was the big news over the last week or two or whatever. It had a huge hack, a proof of work hack. Somebody took over, seized over 51% of the network on Ethereum Classic, just to keep it real high level. And they stole, and basically they were using double transactions, right? And they ended up seizing over like what, 1.1 mil or something like that. What are some of your guys' thoughts on this, and how much does it set us back from these hacks? And you know, I was reading, just to give a little bit more information on it, I was reading articles that was saying that, you know, it could have been a couple of things that contributed to this. Well, it was, and that's, you know, of course, the year-long bear market. You have less miners mining because it's not as profitable, and which makes the network in quotations a little weaker. But you know, they said that they don't ever expect this to happen to Bitcoin, and they said that the smaller coins are usually the target, but when news like this comes out for anything in this space, no matter if it's Bitcoin or any other coin, well, like, well, how do you think this affects the community? Do you really think it shined people away, or do you think people are like blowing it off and not caring, or how do you think, or how have you seen people take it? Because we're on the Twitter every day. How have you seen people take it?
Personally, I didn't really follow that. I didn't really follow what happened with that. Of course, I heard, you know, it happened, but it didn't affect me. I don't have that coin. I've never actually traded that coin, so it didn't affect me. But in terms of how that affects the community and the space as a whole, I think it's obviously pretty negative, because whenever people are putting money into something, they don't want to get hacked for it and have that stolen. But at the same time, I feel like this is the internet and it's basically the Wild West. So anything can happen. And I don't know. I just don't think it, I guess it's just a given, really, as bad as it is to say.
I honestly think it's just, sorry for cutting you off, but I think it's just another headline, bro. I think the people that are really in this space, that are really doing the trading, whether it's margin trading or just trading alts or whatever, you know, I think they see it, and we've seen this before, right? How many times have we seen shit like this since the couple of years that we've been? But it goes to all of the other people. Yeah. Say what you want to say, Blue.
I mean, this is just ironing the bugs, right?
Yeah, come on.
I mean, with cryptocurrency in general and blockchain and whatnot, I mean, we go through this sort of shit now. So is that in, you know, 5 years time, 10 years time, you know, 51% of tax won't be relevant anymore because we would have found solutions to it. So it's expected. I think it's just part of the teething process for blockchain.
Yeah. I mean,
the
problem with these coins is that the hash rate could be manipulated. Like the smaller coins, they could be manipulated easily. So that's why we see hacks every now and then. But yeah, I mean, like you said, when you're in this space for as much as a few months, you're pretty much used to it. So you're not really fazed by this by such news. But I don't know how others from outside crypto community would perceive it. I'm surely that's a negative.
Yeah,
probably that's negative for space. Wow.
I think it's all just part of the scheme to for people who haven't got in yet and to get in at the good prices. But that's just me though. So they're trying to get these discounts, man.
Well, that's it. You look at the news now as well. You're starting to see the Monero mining pick up again, right? Which is just, it's the same narrative that just repeats itself year after year, that Monero is being mined by bots, which, whether it is or not, but as you just said, Dane, like the shitty news always seems to come out together, right?
And
it always seems to come out in waves. It's like, you know what pisses me off? I'm like, look, bro, you had a whole fucking year in 2018 to get these discount prices, bro. So stop all of that shit in 2019. I don't want to hear none of y'all releasing no bad shit. Y'all had a whole 365 days to get your shit right and get in this game. So keep all that negative shit in 2018, man. Speaking of leaving shit in 2018, I'm gonna tell you what we didn't leave in 2018, and that's this podcast and my man Maine, who just joined in. You know what's happening, man. He always drops in randomly. I see you peeking in here. We brought him in 2019 with us as well.
How's it going, guys? I didn't think the hack on ETC would be a problem because I didn't know anyone owned that coin anyways.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean,
which is probably why they just relinquished it, right?
Like the fact that you were able to get $1 million from that thing, that's probably the most profitable thing that's ever happened with that coin.
They did everyone a favor.
Yeah, man. And guess what exchange that the most of the attack happened on? Coinbase, everybody's favorite fucking exchange. Right? So
yeah,
right. So
3 weeks ago, excuse me, like even 3 weeks ago, like the team of the development team stopped. Like one of Ethereum Classic development team stopped working because there's no more money. Like,
oh
yeah.
shit.
So that
Oh
adds
shit. I
up to
forgot about
the
that.
team.
That was big news as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, that was like 3
So,
weeks ago.
hey, now shit makes sense. Now I'm glad that you mentioned that, Blues. Now shit
It's
makes
not
sense. They
related,
came out with the
but-
news that one of
Yeah.
well, I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate over here. They came out with the news that one of the devs is quitting. I don't know how much of a impact that dev had on the team, but somebody may have saw that like, hey, oh shit, a dev's quitting. They weak. It's time to attack them. So maybe if your devs are quitting and all of that shit, man, keep that shit. You know, you might want to keep it on the low in this space because I mean, it sounds crazy, but when people hear news about that shit, the certain person they may try to stage some attacks. I don't know. I'm not saying that it happened like that, but I mean, it sounds like a reasonable assumption to me. You know.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, speaking of exchanges, there has been a new exchange, and I've been seeing some talks about it in the pound. DX exchange. Now it's apparently an exchange that has been I guess one upped or sponsored by or partnered with NASDAQ. And it just experienced some security vulnerabilities as well as not this past week, but they said that they patched it up. But what I was asking about, first of all, have any of you guys heard about this? Have you guys seen anything about it? I know they released their beta, and let's lace some of the listeners up with what's going on with this exchange, because it seems like a pretty nice conversation been going on about it lately. Like, what is it? Like, what's so different about it? What's going on with it?
I mean, I don't know much about the exchange itself, but I know it's not partnered with the Nasdaq, but it uses the trading engine. Like it's a bit.
There we go.
Right? Yeah, so it's not like, I don't know. It's like when you use Amazon services. It's not the same as you're partnered with Amazon. There's a big difference between the two things. Yeah. But still, they're
so they
the
could
only
be
ones
just using. They could just be throwing NASDAQ in there. So what's so different about NASDAQ's trading system than one of like what Binance or something like that?
I mean, it's easier to get all around this compliance shit and all the security. I mean, it's already implemented, so you don't have to do a lot of things like from the security point of view. I mean, a lot of aspects are covered, so you don't need to, how to say, yeah, there isn't so much to do more. Like, you just need to offer the instruments. So,
yeah. Okay.
Other than
Sounds
that,
interesting. I haven't really got into it, but I know some of the people in our group have started experimenting and playing with it, and I expect a lot of exchanges to disappear, and I expect a lot of them to come up in the next few months or years or whatever. And I mean, and that leads to the next topic. Let's start talking about how positive are you guys sensing a little bit more positivity flowing back into the market now since we got out of 2018. I think everybody that was involved in this space just wanted to get the fuck out of 2018. Am I right?
God, no. I think it got more negative, at least in my mentions.
Yeah, I mean, it's not negative. I mean, it's more dead. I know there are a few people. There are even less people than there was in 2018. Okay, I see less engagement, less replies, less controversies. I mean, the whole space is quiet right now.
People also used to it now, right? Like they see the price going up and nobody gets overly excited, and then boom, price drops, and everyone's just like, "Oh yeah, fuck, Bitcoin doing its thing."
Yeah, I mean, in the same time,
damn, man. So I think exactly. So is this that feeling that is this the feeling that we should be feeling when we know that it's we're almost there or have been there or already there with this thing called the bottom, right? Because I will agree. I do sense every pump is getting less euphoric and every drop is getting less talked about because, you know, it's just what's expected. So, I mean, I feel positive. I do realize now maybe some of you price action gurus can talk about this a little more, but I saw that I saw Bitcoin tried to dump a little bit a couple of days ago, and the dump wasn't just that as bad as we've had previously in 2018. Now, I'm not saying it's done dumping, but maybe some of you guys can touch more up on this. So.
Yeah, well, as soon as you said you're feeling good, I just opened 100x short just now. So, I mean,
there we go.
I don't know if the bottom price has been hit yet. I mean, I definitely think that we're getting close. But I think there's like still a lot more. Like this is to me, this is like gonna be like 2015. Like it's gonna be a lot of sideways. I think we're gonna see the volatility dry up again. You know, a lot of people are thinking like if we get back to 6K, like the bull run is going to start. Like what happens if we come back to 6K and it just dumps off of 6K and that now becomes resistance for the next year, right? So
now exactly.
I don't know if price dropping anymore is what is going to get people to leave. I do think we could see moves into the 2000s, maybe even like 1800 or lower. Who knows? But I think what's really going to weed out, because there's as much as like there's less engagement, there's less people. I still have so many trolls who are perma bears or perma bulls, excuse me. I have so many people who post on my shit being like, oh, like I'm going to, whenever I say it's looking weak, they start freaking out and shit. So to me, I think what's going to get those people out is just time, right? It's just going to be time drawn out with Bitcoin and their bags, whatever they own being underwater. Like a lot of these people, like imagine being underwater for another 12 months, right? Like that's going to rinse people. Even if prices don't really change that much, or they do, I think part of that, like just the waiting game, people are not going to be able to hack it. And I think we'll still see some more, you know, people capitulate. But I mean, we're definitely getting close. I mean, if you're a long-term investor, I mean, this is the prime time to start figuring your shit out.
I mean, even
So before.
After the 6K drop, I mean, a lot of people capitulated. Like at this time, I think that's when a lot of people quit the market. Because a lot, most of the people were expecting 6K to hold. So the fact they didn't, just made them.
So do you guys feel like this? If this is one of those years where, you know, we have some drops, we have some pumps or whatever, but if this is one of those years where Bitcoin is ranging at certain between a certain level for an extended period of time, how do you guys feel about alts?
Oh goodness, some of them legitimately could go to maybe not zero because there's still going to be idiots trading them, but they'll get pretty close. I think, and a lot of these teams, they're already struggling, and I think as long as however long this bear market is going to last, they're just going to continue to bleed out with whatever resources. You can develop whatever you want, but if you don't have the money to, you know, the money has to come from somewhere, and if your funds are dried up, you're SOL at that point.
Just Bollinger Bands, just trade off.
Even the liquidity.
Trade off the B-band.
Some coins are already illiquid, so you can say that they went to zero. It's always
that's the same idea.
It's almost the same.
But you don't think so? Let's say the markets do turn around and take off, and some of these absolute shit coins that we know have zero future, right? But they had a lot of hype back in 2017, 2018. You don't feel that when the markets take off, inexperienced investors are going to come in and be like, "Oh, look at this coin! You know, it's down like 10x from its all-time high," and people are just going to start piling into these shit coins again.
Oh, I think absolutely. And then what I'm extremely bullish on whenever the market does turn around, and it may sound ridiculous to some people, but it makes sense to me, and I guess I'll share it here. I'm very bullish on coins on Binance that are below 100 sats. I don't care what the coin is. I don't care what it does. I don't care what the market cap is. Of course, the lower the market cap, the better. But I think, especially with newer traders, they see a coin like, I don't know, this is random. I don't hold any altcoins right now except for a different one. But let's say you see Ncash at, I don't know, let's say it's at 50 sats. People are going to rush, newer traders are going to rush to coins like that and think it's the next Bitcoin, kind of like Tron, like those people. I mean, they kind of think like that's the next Bitcoin, and that thing pumped like overnight. So I may toss some money into those lower sat coins and just wait to dump them at whatever point.
I mean, I
Makes
totally
sense.
agree
Yeah,
with
no,
you.
that's a good strategy.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's generally a good sign for me that it's that it is bull season, right? It's a matter of just throwing a dart at a dartboard with a blindfold up, because
Yeah, exactly.
anything that
Yeah, not
on Binance, I mean, you throw money into that, wait a couple of days, you know, pull out 50%, 100%, move to the next coin.
Exactly.
There are
Yep.
move to the next coin.
psychological prices. Like the best performers in 2017 like were Cardano and Tron and XRP. Like all these coins were low sats. They were
Yeah.
they were below 100 sats and they pumped really hard. Because
Yeah, I mean, if you're
when you
gonna
talk to normies, yeah, go on.
if you're gonna follow that strategy, you know, obviously, if I were to make a suggestion to newer traders who are gonna do that, make sure you set like sell orders in advance, because some of these pumps happen very fast. You know, and a coin that's 50 sats can lose 50% of its value very quickly. It can also double very quickly. So if you're going to be doing that, you know, throwing darts at a dartboard kind of thing, it definitely works when it's like bull season and a lot of these coins are pumping. You only need to hit one of them to make up for the ones that don't work. But you know, be aware of the volume, know how much you're putting in. Like, don't go and put a few Bitcoin into something that you might not be able to sell, right? Like a lot of people will see, you know, a pump happen, and it's like, it's not like someone liquidated, like sold like 15 Bitcoin at that top price. It might have just been one tiny order that created that wick, right? So definitely sell your orders in advance, scale out on those types of alts. Nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, me personally, I don't really have the time to be fucking with coins on Binance and stuff like that. Like I've had luck sometimes getting a 50x. I've also been burnt, in my opinion, way more time. I'm gonna buy Ethereum and I'm gonna buy Ripple at these prices and lower, because there's just no way in my mind by the time the next bull run comes around that those won't be 10x. And I know I can put a good amount of money into those coins and have the liquidity to get out of them as well. So that's kind of how I play the altcoins. As you guys know, I'm not really a shit coin guy, but I mean, I understand the allure, right? Because 100 sat coin, if it goes to 3,000 sat, like that's insane.
Oh,
yeah, I probably should have expanded a little bit more on what I said. I'm not going to be tossing like even a large majority of my Bitcoin into those low sat coins. What I'm going to be primarily buying is Ethereum, like you mentioned. Like that's the most no-brainer buy, even at this price, and of course lower. That's going to be a no-brainer buy. But these low sat coins are kind of something where you toss, I don't know, 10% in and just see what happens. Maybe you'll wake up one morning and you'll make some money. If not, it should be coins that you throw Bitcoin in that you're not afraid to completely lose, or lose like 10% overnight and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I would feel way more comfortable about that if Binance would stop fucking with us and hurry up and implement the stop and sell orders, and what is that term called? F cancel orders or whatever the fuck it is, so I can feel safe doing something like that, right? Well, we know that now if you do that, then if you're not on your shit and watching the charts every day, or at least checking on it every day, then we can't set sell orders and stops in the same one. So they need to stop fucking with us and implement that shit.
Something that I've been using, and this is going to sound like a plug, but it's not a plug. I have nothing to do with these people. But there's an app called 3 Commas, which you guys can look into. Sort of effectively connects with the Binance API. And it allows you to do those sort of things like smart trades, for example. I use a lot where I will, let's say Tron, for example, right? So I've got a bag of Tron. What I'll do is I'll set a sell order at a particular point, like at a resistance level, and then I will automatically set a buyback, let's say 5% lower, with a trailing buy. So that way I don't have to think about it anymore. So if the price goes up there, the sell order gets hit, as close to the top as possible. Then when the price retraces 5%, a buy order automatically kicks back in to re-pick up my stack. It's actually a pretty cool tool. I've been using it now for a few months. Yeah, go for it.
And what is this called? 3 Commas?
3 Commas, correct. Yeah. So it's worth checking out. I would say, and I put this in my original tweet when I first found it and started using it. Because it is connected to your Binance API, use a separate account. Anything that has API access. I mean, it can't withdraw the funds or anything like that, but we've seen those those sort of clever hacks before, where people have gotten access to tools like this and then just gone and market buy some absolute shitcoin, right? And,
I remember when that
you know, like when you see those massive spikes up on
Like Coin.
exactly it, right? So just be careful of that. So whenever I do something like this, I always have a separate account with a small amount of funds in there. Definitely not on my main account. But yeah, check it out. And like you said as well, Dame, you can do the whole buys and stops in the same order. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's some. Yeah, that's some that I haven't heard about that. That was a good little tip right there. Appreciate that, Wolf. So I heard a lot about Tron, and before we get into these charts and all of that stuff, which we usually do towards the end of the show, so Tron had some interesting news, and I wasn't going to talk about it, but since we all brought that shit up, so they just hired, and I think it went on a nice little run this past week because news came out that they just hired an ex-SEC committee member on their team in some kind of position. I don't know what position he holds within Tron, but that seemed to be, and I'm pretty sure it was more than that, what pumped, and I'm pretty sure it was basic just price action and all of that stuff. But that seemed one of the catalysts to drive it up a little bit. Is that really as big news as they marketed it as? Is that a real advancement in the space? A former SEC member coming into it, because whether he's a former SEC member and whether he was part of the SEC or not, he's not there anymore, so it doesn't matter. Like, so right. So I mean, no matter how they advertise it, I mean, he could have had a certain view then and can be like, fuck the SEC now. But it seems like it's just people. That's just something that people bought into. Do you guys see that as legit news, as I would say?
From a compliance point of view, right? So you're sort of saying, well, we're bringing somebody from the SEC across. I mean, from a business point of view, the main reason you would use them would be from compliance, right? So you'd have them come into the company and you'd be like, right, are we doing everything above board? You know, how can we push the boundaries? What are the gray areas that we can sort of like step into a little bit? So I'm personally, I think bringing somebody in like that is a big plus. For me, it's definitely a big plus. It's just a matter of how they utilize him. If he's still got all these connections at the SEC and whatnot, then it's quite a valuable hire, I think.
Yeah,
I agree with that. From a business standpoint, it's really good, but I feel like Justin Sun can tweet that like he painted his wall a different color and then he could somehow tie that into the coin and then he could pump it. He really is really good at marketing. So
I was about to say that.
Yeah, the news is okay. Like from a business standpoint, it's great. But does it have anything to do with Tron, the coin itself? Probably not. But that's just Justin Sun working his magic.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good. You had something else to say about that?
No, I was just going to keep talking about Tron, but I'm done. Fine.
No, talk about some Tron. Let's talk about some Tron, man. What happened with Tron?
No, I was just going to say, like, I hated on Tron for a long time. But I see a lot of potential with it. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be massive, but there is a lot of potential. And I've said this about Justin Sun from the start. The guy, he's put a lot of pressure on himself to succeed, right? And I think within the circle that he comes from and within that whole sort of industry, he's not going to allow failure to happen, right? Like he's going to do whatever it like pushes forward. I'm very excited to see what they do manage to pull off this year. But as always, I'm willing to dump that bag the second I feel uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is gonna be the year 2019. Like last year, like we all know, 2018 was like the purge year, and for everybody, if you can't handle it, get the fuck out. But so far as this year, 2019, so far separated from a trading perspective, I feel like this is a year for devs and all of the projects out there to show like who can withstand the test. I feel like it's gonna be some real Hunger Games type shit. And if you got your shit together, and if all of these devs are really talking about that crypto life, this is gonna be the year for them to show that, like, hey, we here. And I feel like if a lot of these coins can get through this year, so far as like with development updates and doing any kind of partnerships or just doing any kind of ground level work, then I feel like that those are going to be the ones that we can kind of look to long term. And we'll see where that goes at this year. But I think this is that year for that. But saying that, Now let's just get to the favorite part of the show as we're ticking down towards the end. Now we got UB here and we got my man Maine here. And UB's a guest, and Maine always has a segment. So I wanted you guys to do. I just wanted to do like both UB first, and can you show us a little bit of what you see with Bitcoin chart right now, and maybe one other of your favorite plays on BitMEX right now, and then we're gonna double back with Trader Man and see what. I just want people to see how different traders look at charts and look at movement and all of that stuff. So I wanted you to do BTC and your favorite play on BitMEX, and then I wanted Maine to do BTC and his favorite play on BitMEX, just to see where shit is going right now. So if you would you mind sharing your screen, my brother?
Oh, sharing my screen.
If you wasn't ready for that, then nah, it's cool. I know boys with the mask like me on are watching the stream and they ready to hack shit. So if you ain't got your shit set up,
yeah,
so if you ain't got it set up,
I could talk about it verbally. I mean, I could just basically paint a picture for everyone.
If you give me 2 seconds here, I'll put up my screen so people can see a chart while he's talking. I'm just gonna leave and rejoin.
Yeah. There we go.
But
you can start talking.
I'll give an intro to this. One of my latest YouTube videos, I went on a little bit of a rant for a few minutes about people who are posting charts that 5K was like within reach, and that just got me so fired up for some reason. Hopefully, I don't have that same emotion when I'm talking about it this time. But if we start on a weekly,
put all emotion out there, bro.
Yeah, maybe I'll wait for Maine. But when we start on the weekly perspective, you guys can see what I'm talking about. Or do you not want to wait for him, or what do you want me to do?
Oh, no, just start talking. He'll come back in. All
right, cool. So on a weekly perspective, I tweeted my thoughts back on December 30th. Basically, my tweet was saying that I didn't believe the bottom was in. And if you're looking at Bitcoin in terms of price action, the path of least resistance for Bitcoin is for price, in my opinion, to hit 2.8 to 2.6 rather than 5K first. Back around December 30th, a lot of people were posting these charts with 5K. And I just think it is so absolutely ridiculous to be saying things like that, especially when a weekly hasn't closed above 4.1K in now, let's assume 8 weeks. 8 weeks. And if you zoom out on the weekly chart and look left, that basically is everything you need to see, right? Bitcoin kind of bounced at, I guess, a weekly level, kind of. Not really where it bounced. It more bounced on a daily level if you look at the daily time frame. But if you're looking at the weekly level and look left, look at all the resistance to the upside before 5K. You have to look at 2017 because clearly that is still an area of resistance, even though it's long ago at this point. So in my opinion, the next area that will hit before 5K is 2.8 to 2.6. And that area, because again, if you go onto the weekly and zoom out a bit, you can see that. If you want to
put my screen on, I'm showing the Bitcoin chart right now.
There we go. We can see it now. Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. So let me just see what he's showing. Yeah, so basically the same area. Yeah, so basically the same area. So if you look left, right, and at that 2.6K level about, you can see that that was an area of resistance. And typically, when price revisits an area of resistance after it breaks through, that area becomes support. And you can see that to the upside here. So if you look left a bit, you can see back in 2017, the 4.1K level was resistance, a good amount of resistance. But then again, it acted as support when price finally broke above it. And then to the downside, we have that resistance at 2.6 before price eventually smashed through it. It eventually retested that 2.6K area as support. So in my opinion, when we hit that, if and when we do, we'll bounce off of there. And I just want to mention that maybe when I did go on my little bit of a rant and say that 5K was ridiculous, maybe I'm the one that's, wrong, and I could be just talking crap and not really know what I'm talking about. But in my opinion, that is just out of the question anytime soon. And emotionally, right, it sucks. But when it comes to trading, you just have to trade the charts. And in my opinion, that's just not going to be happening anytime soon. So that's what I see. And in terms of the next few days, I also tweeted this earlier, but I think that 3770 will be a good area of resistance. And if price can somehow crawl back above there and establish that as support on a daily time frame, then we may see some more upside. But personally, I think this looks pretty bad. And if this dumps directly through that 3430 level, you can see again a support and resistance flip. So if this dumps on a daily time frame in the first shot through 3430, I think we'll see some new lows even quicker than I anticipate. But again, I do expect some new lows at some point, probably some point soon.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at that as well. What do you see about that, man?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't disagree. It's so funny, right? Like when I started posting those like market maker models, right? Everyone assumed that every single move up was a market maker model now. So when we had this move up, all I saw was people tagging me in posts of this thing like completely retracing back down like this, which is pretty funny. Obviously, as crypto trader does, it goes through its like TA. It goes through its TA. I thought I was on mute for a second there. It goes through its like TA meme phases, right? So I don't disagree with much as what he said, right? Like what we're seeing here looks to be like a more complex breakdown than just your typical, you know, what we saw here, for example, right? Just up, down, right? Up, down. This one was up and then down. And it's possible to have up, right? And then some sideways and then down. So the good news, if you even want to call it that, is the selling is slowing down, right? Like this is the first kind of sideways we've had in a while, right? It was really consolidate, dump, a little bit of move up, dump, and now we've actually had some sideways. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I tried to short here, failed, shorted here, got a little bit, tried to short this, failed, tried to short this, failed, then finally got it again. My direction hasn't changed, and I've been tweeting the weekly chart out like every few days since before Christmas, showing the exact same thing that he was just talking about there. We haven't made a higher high yet. So at no point is there any reason for anyone to be getting like all too crazy about 5K or anything like that. Like as soon as I started to see people say 5K, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? Like in this entire downtrend, how many times have we had higher lows and it didn't do fuck all, right? So I'll show you a little something I was talking about with people in my Discord yesterday in a live stream. So I agree with most of the levels he hit here. I'm pretty sure every level he said is something I have marked on this chart. Any sort of move up here, right? People who are thinking we're just going to nuke now, we just broke market structure on the high time frame here. So what does that mean? That means pullbacks are for shorting. So this is one of those Arthur Hayes candles here. But generally when I see something like this, take out the top of the range, now we take out the bottom, and we're now above the EQ. I wouldn't be surprised if we had some sort of move up, but any sort of move up, I'm going to be fading. The fact that this support level, right, this level here that caused this impulse move up, the fact that it didn't offer any support on the way down makes me think if we come back to this level, that's going to be a really nice short. So if we come back up here, I would short the fuck out of a breakdown here, okay? That's kind of my short-term thoughts. I completely agree. If we get below this gray level, there's a potential D1 breaker here. And I say potential because it doesn't have to offer any support. It could right here, this down candle or up candle here. But in my opinion, if we get below this gray block, at the very least, we're going to be testing 3,200 again. And if that goes, obviously, we're going to new lows. But something that was funny and that I saw all over Twitter, right? Maybe I'll pull up a different chart here. These inverse head shoulders, right? How many people did you see talking about this, right?
Oh God, that got me so fired up.
Okay, so what is an inverse head and shoulders? Because anyone who's a pattern trader, unless
that's
they
ugly ass inverse head and shoulders right there.
Sorry, man, I apologize. I failed art class. But you know what I mean? Like anyone who trades specifically patterns, if you don't understand price action and market structure, your patterns don't mean jack shit. because you can spot an inverse head shoulders on the daily chart, but are we near a high time frame resistance level? Are we near a high time frame support level? What's the high time frame context? Are we bearish? Are we bullish? These things matter when you're looking at patterns. And I posted a chart on Twitter like a week ago or something with a pennant on it or a triangle, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I think it was here. And this is not something I normally do, but you know how many people have these triangles on their charts, and it's like, okay, well, what is this showing you? It's just showing you higher lows and lower highs, right? Like, I don't need to know that this is a falling wedge or a broadening wedge or a symmetrical. I don't give a fuck. It's higher lows and lower highs, right? And it's price compressing, meaning a move is coming soon, right? That's when you start understanding market structure. It doesn't matter what these fucking patterns are. And the same thing goes for the head and shoulders, right? What is the head and shoulders? Fuck the shoulder. This shoulder doesn't mean shit to me. All I see here is a low, a high, and then a higher low. So for me to get bullish, what do I want to see? I want to see a higher high, okay? I don't care about the head and shoulders. You want to know how many times we've had a head and shoulders pattern that didn't work for Bitcoin? I can tell you right now, it's a lot. Here's another example right here. I believe, I think it was around like 4K here. I think some people were calling this a potential inverse head and shoulders, right? And then we broke down because we had a low, a high, a higher low. That's bullish, right? A lot of people longed here, but then we never made a higher high. So fuck off, right? And you can see it happening again. And some, I've got, here's another one, right? This is one where it actually worked. Why did it actually work here? We had a low, a high, a higher low, and then we had a higher high, right? That's bullish. So one of the common things I see in when I'm looking at these pattern traders and stuff, it matters what the high time frame context is. And what I find is when we're in a downtrend, an inverse head and shoulders doesn't work that often. What you'll find is the regular head and shoulders actually is a lot more likely to work in a downtrend because in a regular head and shoulders breaks down, right? So a lot of people don't seem to.
I was watching on my phone.
Oh, it's all good. A lot of people don't seem to get that, and they get so caught up in these patterns. It's like, well, if you don't understand what the pattern is showing you in price, like your broadening wedge right here, right? That's higher lows and higher highs. It's as simple as that. So I hate that nonsense when people are like posting. They're like, oh, spotted an inverse and head. Like I'll post something and I'll get some person every time without fail in my comments being like, well, what about the broadening wedge on the 15-minute chart? I'm like, what the fuck about it? Like, I don't know. So I think a lot of people would be better off just focusing on like marking levels and then just looking for market structure to form around those levels. And so obviously we had these key levels here. If you look, this is the yearly open, this 36.93 level. Look at how it is the bottom of this, right? Like this is what you need to be focusing on. Mark this level, and if that's all you would have done, I'll do this on the other chart because I don't want to mess up my my shit here. Like if I just mark these levels, work of art. Yeah, my work of art, exactly. If you would have just marked this and this, and then went to the intraday chart, does that not basically give you the majority of the price action that we've experienced so far? Like obviously we don't come up into the top here, but if you would have just said, I'm going to look for longs near the bottom, you would have gotten a good trade here. You would have gotten stopped out here, a good trade here, a good trade here, and potentially another good trade here. So the fact that people are freaking out about a bull market starting before we've even come above this level or new lows before we've broken below this level, it's like it's nonsense. So sometimes what I try and do and what I try and help newer traders focus on is as like delete all of your levels, delete everything off your chart, start with a fresh chart, start on the highest time frame possible, mark what looks like key levels in the past, right? Like UB was saying there, right? Like this level was resistance. And then look at this one candle here. I know it's only one candle, but this is a weekly chart.
Wow. So yeah, that's a nice range right there too, bro. That's a nice damn near $1,000 range that it's been ranging in. So
and you can just trade the shit out of that, right? But instead, people, they will send me charts and they'll go like, hey, is this in order? So, I mean, look, that's that one level I marked on the weekly. Look at how it was resistance, support, and then we launched, right? So you don't need a whole lot of shit on your chart. And look how we've like, it blows my mind. I'll get people who send me these charts and it has like 800 different color rectangles on it, all overlapping each other. And they'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? The yellow one is a weekly, and the red one is a daily, and this one is this one. I'll be like, well, what the fuck is actionable out of that? Right? Like, if you know what you're doing.
I think you're about to take some L's. That's what it looked like. You about to
it looks like, how are you supposed to make a trade based off of this? Right? Like, how does this mean anything to anyone? Like, and it's funny. You can tell who's really trading is who's not, is when you see them post all of these levels, and then they post a chart being like, oh, target hit. Or like, look at how it bounced off my level. It's like, okay, but what did you do when price got to that level? So I think for simplicity's sake, like if people are trying to guess what's going to happen next, go to the high time frame, mark out this range right here. And if we're above this high here, which would make a higher high in this range that we're in now, start getting bullish. And if we go below this range low here, or even this low here, I guess, which is basically all-time low or the yearly low so far, then mark out these levels, as that's probably the next area where you might see a bounce. And I guarantee if you just focus on those few levels, you're going to be way better off than worrying about anything else. Like, I don't need to pick the bottom. I'm going to wait. And if price comes down to this level and starts looking bullish, and what I mean by bullish means bullish market structure on the daily or higher time frame, then I'll start seriously considering. Like, we saw this happen, right? A higher high and then a higher low. That to me is like, okay, maybe we are going to 5 or 6K now, right? But it's like there's nothing to get too excited about except for that the selling has slowed down, in my opinion. Otherwise, I'm still leaning bearish for the majority of the market until some serious, bullishness comes in. Every single move up has basically been rejected by like a weekly level the entire way, right? You have your weekly level here, rejected. You have a weekly level right here, right? Rejected this move up. You had a weekly support and resistance level right here, rejected this move up. Like, it's not that fucking hard what I'm doing right now. I just started with a blank chart. Weekly level, stop that move, right? Weekly level, stop that move. Weekly level, stop that move. So if you just focus for trades around that area, A, your success rate is going to be a lot higher, and B, I guarantee you'll stare at the chart a lot less. Set an alarm on each of these levels, and then when price gets near one, that's when you pull up BitMEX and you start looking.
And and then I wanted to let people know that I took some advice, and like you mentioned, cleaning off your charts. Like every now and then, no, not financial advice, because then I would sue you. But because I've been losing, and that's my fault. But I'm gonna blame it on you. No, but I'm just playing. I've been winning anyway. So I've cleared every week. I've took the time to like clear my chart and just start with a new, fresh outlook, no matter what my results have been that week, and it's been helping. You know what I'm saying? And I know that you mentioned that to keep it nice and clear, get all those fucking boxes and diagonal lines and all that shit out the way. Now, my next thing is, and I think this is an interesting question that everybody wants to hear about. Do you guys see us Ethereum getting to or around double-digit levels again? Now, I know that has a lot of variables and a lot of factors to it, but what do you think about that? Because I know we went from about 160, 170, now we're back in the 120s, 130s. So
yeah, I could see Ethereum doing something like this. To be all honest with you, I could see us totally coming back for this high and then tagging this area right here, which is this order block and basically these lows. Beautiful straight line. I could see something like that totally happen because everyone wanted to short 170 on this pump up and it never happened. I saw a lot of people asking me if I thought Litecoin was going to be like a leading indicator. All I saw is everyone had the same head and shoulders pattern and all the big cap alts looked like this, except for they broke the neckline. Bitcoin did the head and shoulders and just never broke the neckline. So I definitely could see Ethereum being a double-digit shitcoin, and I would buy it in the double digits like crazy. What's scary for Ethereum is if it goes through $80, the next area that I see on my chart is like literally $30 below that. So that's kind of scary.
So not financial advice, but if buy all the way till 80, and if it goes back to 80, go to BitMEX and open up a big ass short, right?
Exactly.
I agree with that as well. I was just scrolling through my Twitter to look at my Ethereum post I had from a few weeks back in early December, and I basically said the same thing. If like 7750 doesn't hold on the weekly or even daily level, Ethereum will be basically free falling until the $43 to $50 region. At least that's what I saw. I don't remember seeing the $30, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. But I was using the Bitfinex chart, of course. But that's what I saw, and I think it could get pretty bad for Ethereum, especially if Bitcoin does go for 2.8 to 2.6.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get bad for everything if that.
But I hope it does, just because
good for us, because we know. Exactly.
Look at this though. Is this not hilarious? Like this 3 weeks that we've had, like how much fucking sentiment on Twitter has gone nuts. Like that's why dumb money is always going to stay the same, right? Like that's why the mass is always going to be wrong, because you'll have, this is your chart for the year, and then you have this 3 week span, and everyone thought that we were going to the bear market was over, right? Like, I always say this every time I'm on here. I'm like, go back on Twitter in April when we had these 4 huge green candles, and what was everyone saying? They're like, all right, that was the low, or whatever it was, right? And this was 6K on Bitcoin, I believe. And we came right back up, and what happened? Right into a weekly level. And then we jumped off again, Arthur right?
Pulled out the lube.
He pulled out the fucking rug right under your fucking feet. So I posted like a tweet that got like a pretty big reaction. I wasn't expecting it, about like greedy people being poor. And I didn't mean like poor people are like fucking greedy and they're like, gimme. I more mean like, especially in crypto, there's this like never had enough syndrome, right? Where you're up at 10x and you don't want to take any profit, because what if it goes to 20x, right? That's the reason why the chart looks like this, because some dumb fuck had Ethereum from $300 and it's at $1,400, and they're like, well, what if it goes to 2,000? You know what I mean? What if I want more? And then I'll post a trade that will be a short, and I'll get like a 3R on it, and someone will be like, well, are you gonna long it now? It's like, no, I'm gonna go fucking chill. Like, I just made my money for the day. Like, I don't need more all the time. And you'll find this very common with people who are in this space and who are not doing it very well. Their biggest problem is greed. Greed is an emotion, right? Like, traders always talk about not having emotions when you're trading. Greed is that emotion that gets you to not let go of that bag. Greed is the reason why people bought Bitcoin at 3K a year and a half ago and are holding Bitcoin still today at 3K and didn't sell any. So be happy with what you get, man. Don't worry. Like, if you're making money, like I think it was Warren Buffett. I'm not 100% sure, but he said, I've never complained about making money. You know what I mean? And could I have made more money? Sure, but that's the wrong fucking attitude, right? Like, be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for the wins that you get and your opportunity to have, had a winning trade, and know that there's always going to be another one. I mean, obviously the dream is that this fucking chart that we're looking at right now is going to look like this thing one day relative to here, right? So the fact that you're in this now and there's a chance that this thing might look like this tiny thing one day, I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure. Be happy, take that fucking 10x and move on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not gonna lie. I think we can all claim to be victims of the greed at sometimes, and even I was back in the early 2018. But it's 2019, bro. New year, new me, and I'm taking profits, and I think everybody else is too, right? So that but I tell you what's not new, and that's the greatness of this fucking show and the good host that we have, right, and the good guests that we have too. So shout out to my man Crypto UB. Shout out to my man Maine for that wonderful market outlook. And this wraps up episode 14 of Crypto Dog Pound Unleash. Come back next week for episode 15. And I want to thank my co-host Blues, Wolf, once again, UB, Trader Main. This is Blockchain Dame. Fuck with us on Twitter. Come join the Dog Pound. Come get into some of this interaction and get ready for a big 2019. I want to thank all my guests and hosts. And we will be back next week. Appreciate that, guys. And holla at your boy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Peace.